Hello. Lately I've been flirting with the idea of making several videos, just my various ideas I've had about movies over the years. It- I'm not gonna bother putting any sort of production value into these or even writing scripts for them. I may only make this one. I may not even post it if it really fucking sucks. But chances are I might make a couple of these. It's one of those ideas I've been flirting with for a while. And the sort of catalyst that got me to try and make one was a director named Brian Pollan has started putting his own YouTube videos online. He's a micro budget filmmaker from um, Massachusetts. He makes these like crazy metal horror movies that are really awesome and really good. And he's just been sitting in front of a table with like a little backdrop put up, and he'll sort of do lists of movies and that sort of stuff. And he doesn't clearly doesn't script them, doesn't edit them at all. And I'm like, I can do that. That's pretty easy. I don't have any sort of fan base to actually follow it, but fuck it, I'll do it anyway. So I figure I've got a few concepts for this, but I'll start off with a really probably my simplest idea is in defense of Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. I know he's not, the most popular guy these days. Maybe never was. Pretty much people have been shitting on his movies since he started making them. Even within the horror fan community. I mean, as soon as House of a Thousand Corpses came out, people were kind of picking it apart. In all fairness, that movie is kind of flawed. I mean, even within its sort of manic style, it does have some issues and that sort of thing. And he was sort of figuring stuff out. And Sherry Moon Zombie is their first acting beyond, I think, being in his music videos. So she's not she sort of falls back on this evil manic laughter a lot on it, I think. Or maybe that was a purposeful choice from Rob Zombie himself, I don't know. But he definitely seems to have developed more of his own style, even if it is just sort of perfecting what he initially did with House of a Thousand Corpses. But yeah, the Halloween Rob Zombie remakes, there again, they definitely have their share of haters, I guess. Largely because the original Halloween franchise has such a fervent following. So many people really, I mean, obviously Halloween's a classic and all that stuff. Which maybe I should just jump ahead to my main point, and this is gonna probably make fans of the original Halloween series upset. At this point in my life, I think I prefer Rob Zombie's Halloweens to pretty much any Halloween in the real Halloween franchise, I guess. Partially maybe because I'm not that big of a fan of Michael Myers as a slasher villain. Maybe just his character design isn't super interesting. He always seemed to me, it seemed like Michael Myers crawled so that Jason Voorhees could run. So, and I mean, I know obviously Friday the 13th is sort of a well-known fact now that Jason Voorhees is basically a knockoff of Michael Myers. They blatantly ripped it off, and they didn't even really try to hide it. But I just always preferred Jason. He just always seemed like the more badder ass of the slasher villains. He just was more fun. And Friday the 13th as a franchise is more consistently good. You know, you can argue what you will, but like Friday the 13th as a franchise is almost like a through line of quality. Like there's like the ones I like the least are still not that much worse than the ones I like the most. So like it's but whereas like with Halloween, it's such a like roller coaster ride of like qualities. It goes to like really good and then just absolute dog shit. I mean, I know Resurrection is getting a sort of burst of love lately, but I don't see it. I guess I should also point out there's the weird headless mannequin in the corner. I just think that's kind of like on par with the topic here. But to talk more about Rob Zombie's Halloween in particular, uh, I I also like I understand the hate that Rob Zombie has gotten for years. Um, I even myself was a Rob Zombie hater for many years. I liked House of a Thousand Corpses when it came out. Um, Devil's Rejects kind of turned me off when I first saw it because maybe it was the rapey vibes. I don't know. They just seemed more dislikable in that one, the three main guys, the first time I saw it. And so that kind of turned me off. And, like, I think the first time I saw Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I didn't like it. I didn't like it a lot. And then, so for many years, I was sort of spouting what's, I think, probably become a cliche now, is people have said that Rob Zombie, they like him as a director, but they really think somebody else should write his scripts for him. I completely disagree now at this point in my life. I think his scripts are this weird, like, white trash poetry. I love them. They're legitimately really funny to me. Anyway, I mean, I'll use for example this opening scene here. It's just little Mike Myers in his. Well, now he's in the high school. Missed the opening scene, but like when he's in the opening scene, William Forsythe's like his stepdad or his mom, Sherry Moon Zombie's boyfriend or something. And he's just drunk as shit at the breakfast table. There's a baby crying in the corner. It's obviously like really dark, bad white trash stuff. There's this one part where he says about the older teenage daughter that she has a nice dumper. I think he even says she has a nice, holy shit, she has a nice fucking dumper. And there's something so funny to me about referring to a woman's butt as a dumper like as a compliment. It's like saying, yeah, that girl's got a really cute shithole. Like, it's just so ridiculous to me and over the top. And William Forsythe just fucking nails it in this scene. Like, it's obviously like a really like you can take that scene as like really traumatic, and it is for a child who has to live in that. But it's also legitimately really funny. So it's like this weird mashup of dark comedy and like in this like legitimately like serious tone that sort of runs throughout this movie. Like there's all these moments of weird like comedy in it. There's the Ken Foree scene where he's this cool like trucker just like talking about how he's taking a shit while he's doing it. And at the same time, it's really funny and like, but like this whole movie has this like Rob Zombie has a lot of movies that have a really dark tone to them or a dark theme. These ones, like the two Halloween movies, might be his darkest. Oddly enough, maybe Lords of Salem. Lords of Salem which still has humor quite a bit in it, but definitely one of his darker movies. I mean, they're all kind of fucked up, but this one, like, it's funny because you compare it, like, it almost, like, the original Halloween, maybe, I mean, closest comparison would be Halloween 2 for the sequel, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Like, they almost seem really, like, dialed back. I mean, look, he's, like, beating a teenage boy to death brutally. That sort of thing. I mean, the kid's a piece of shit. They establish that really well, and it's kind of satisfying when he does it. It's kind of the funny thing about this opening where they set up that Michael Myers comes from this traumatic household and all that stuff. It's most of the characters he kills in the first little bit are actually like pretty shitty. You're kind of rooting for him, except for maybe his like older sister and her boyfriend. Uh, you're kind of like on Michael's side on this one, But then as like the movie goes on, he's in there's it's like in this really like neat 3-act structure. Where it's the first act is him in his weird traumatic like white trash household. Second act, he's done the murders. He's in like a psychiatric ward being treated by Dr. Loomis, who's now played by brain fart, Clockwork Orange guy, fucking Malcolm McDowell. Oh my god, that's terrible. Malcolm McDowell is playing the Dr. Loomis in this one, and for my money, like Malcolm McDowell in these two movies, one of the better roles he's played in several years. He tends to take a lot of like paycheck gigs now, and so he sort of like seems to phone it in, or maybe he's just like, I don't know, maybe the part is never that interesting in the first place. But he does this like over the course of the two movies. He starts off as this sort of like hippie new like new age like experimental therapist. He's got like long hair and he's like kind of cool, and then he's legitimately like really trying to help this boy, and slowly realizing that he can't, and he's really not effective at all. Nothing he does, and then he starts profiting off him by publishing a book on him, and he becomes this weird sort of hip guy. He just at the end of this movie is trying to stop him, but then when he like all this stuff happens in the second one, he becomes this like sort of famous douchebag and all this stuff. It's pretty interesting. Like he actually goes through quite a wild arc over the course of the two movies, and because he's Malcolm McDowell and he can do a really great job when he feels like it, he plays it really well and interesting, to me at least. So yeah, anyway, 3-act structure. Second structure is him trying to help him, and Malcolm McDowell trying to help little Michael Myers in the hospital, and Michael Myers aging and just becoming more withdrawn into his like weird psyche. And then the third act is what most of the original Halloween is, with Laurie Strode, now played by I didn't look it up, some girl, and her friend Danielle Harris, and another girl who's another friend. And again, this is where it sort of establishes itself as being like legitimately really dark. I mean, actually, it's really dark all the way through. No, I'm not kidding. Sherry Moon Zombie like shoots herself in the head while watching old videos. It's pretty bleak and brutal. But then it gets to the third act. Oh man, I was gonna try and do this quicker so I could skip the part where it gets to the nudity, and I don't think YouTube likes that. But now I'm talking too long. Anyway, so the third act, it gets to this part where it's like the original Halloween. But now, again, Michael Myers is he's a much bigger guy. He's much more physically terrifying and faster than Mike Myers has ever been in any of the previous things. More of a threat. He's honestly more like Jason. Again, probably why I like this movie a little bit better. And it is very dark in the third half. Immediately, Laurie Strode's adopted parents are murdered, and they've already established that they have this really close bond with their adopted daughter. They're really good parents. They're nice people, and they're killed horribly. And that sort of right away sets up for this is not going to end well for anybody, including like even the survivors are going to be left really messed up, which will lead to the second one, which is all about Laurie Strode's PTSD from the events of the first one. And I guess if you could say these movies, oh, there's the nudity. I'm just gonna put my head in front of it. So, if there is a theme to these movies, I guess it's like a sort of how a family curse can just like family curse through psyche or whatever can ultimately end up destroying everybody involved. Even once they've sort of separated themselves from the family, it will ultimately come back to haunt them, sort of thing. Some Hereditary, maybe you owe this movie some cues or whatever. I doubt it. I don't think there was any influence from this in Hereditary. But yeah. So the third act, like, I legitimately really like that part too. I like every act in this movie. It's really interesting how they handle it. The third act is pretty cool because you get to meet like Laurie Strode and her friends, Daniela Harris. Daniela Harris is a cop father played by Brad Dourif. He's one of the best characters in this year. And this series is filled with like great characters and great like cameos from like cool horror actors and shit. So yeah, you get Daniela Harris's dad, Brad Dourif, and he's like a great tragic figure in the second one too. So yeah, and their third friend, who's she's the stand-in for PJ Souls. I don't know the actress's name, but one of the funniest scenes in this movie is the the whole scene in the original where PJ Souls and the guy go to the house to fuck, and he like goes off to get drinks or something, and then Michael Myers kills him and like comes in with the blanket and puts on his glasses and stuff. So one of my favorite, like, it's such a like goofy bit, but it's like the guy before he's killed by Michael Myers, him and stand-in PJ Souls have some sex, and it's bad and it's awkward teenage sex or something. He gets like a leg cramp and he comes too quick, and he's like, she's like, go get me another beer, and he stands up and he's like, okay, but honest, like 7.5, and she goes, how about 0? He's like, yeah, 0 plus 11. It works. It's funny to me. It like all the dialogue has this certain like either like a hillbilly or sort of like it taps into my like inner 14-year-old, and the white trash I kind of relate to because deep down I am. So it's. I've sort of lost my train of thought here. And again, this will tap into the not editing these videos part. So sorry, everybody, because I'm not going to bother, like, cutting this part. Other good points about this movie. I don't know. It's just there's this visceralness to it that's very exciting. The last time I watched the original Halloween, I saw it because I think the Carlton Cinema played. They were doing some classic horror movies thing on Halloween like a few years ago, around Halloween time, and they played Halloween. So I went to see it because, like, I haven't seen it in the theater. I'll go see it. And it was, the whole time I was sitting there watching it, I was like, I don't think this movie does anything for me anymore. Like, I know every note beat for beat. I haven't even, like, honestly, I don't think I've watched it that many times, but it's just, it's such a simple structure to the movie. Like, John Carpenter was very much like a Walter Hill or something. Like, I mean, I know he was throwing back to Howard Hawks sort of thing. So he really liked to keep things stripped down and simple and bare. So there's a certain, like that aspect of it is both its greatest aspect and ultimately for me what's turned me off it. So because it's so simple, the pacing is really good, and it moves along very good. And it's got that nice, like, all the houses on the street feel like connected. Like, you feel like there's an anatomy to the scene when the final climax happens. It reminds me of like Sorority House or Slumber Party Massacre sort of did the same thing, and they did it really well. And so because of it, it felt like that movie moves along really well. Again, I mean, I think that movie's only like an hour and 10 minutes, so that helps too. But the point being with this is a much longer movie than the original Halloween. It's sort of trying to tell at least like a much more. I'm gonna again try to. The nudity goes on for a while in this actually. Now that I'm looking at, yeah, I mean it's pretty trashy. Like it's kind of what he's going for with it. You know, and again, probably part of why he's not the most popular guy right now. Though maybe the Munsters remake he's doing will turn that around. Who knows? I really hope he's just as trashy and swear-filled and gory with the Munsters remake that he is with all of his other movies. But I think he could actually pull off like a straight comedy sort of thing, like a PG comedy. He's pretty good with comic timing and goofy bits of dialogue and stuff like that. Or at least, again, to my sensibilities. Like, comedy is so, like, everybody has a different thing that works for them. But for me, Rob Zombie makes me laugh, man. He makes me laugh. The gore is always really good. The tension does feel tense. Oh, I did forget one thing I was gonna say about the sort of three teenage female characters in the third act. And one of the things that sort of struck me as interesting upon the last time I rewatched this movie was that watching them talk with each other, like the way they sort of chat and stuff, like I could see a lot of audience members just hating it. But it struck me as sort of like a realistic way of how a lot of women talk when guys are not around. I mean, they're pretty sexually mature teenage seniors. I mean, obviously the actresses are not really teenagers, but seniors in high school. And so a lot of their dialogue is involving sex and stuff like that. And there's even bits where they're sort of like when parents are around, they're sort of like dry humping each other and making fake orgasm noises just to freak out the parents. And again, that struck me as very like, I've known girls who do that, like just to freak out mom and dad, just to, that sort of thing. It felt like it's sort of the same thing with Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. It felt like there's a large part of male audiences that really don't like sort of boisterous women, talking to each other and being loud and being kind of obnoxious, I guess. So they hated Death Proof a lot, although Death Proof I've seen seems to have sort of gathered female fans over the years. And every woman I know has always liked it. Not every woman I know, like every woman I know who I've talked to about Death Proof. And again, like parallel, it's hard not to talk about Rob Zombie's screenplays without talking about like a Quentin Tarantino parallel, because both sort of were heavily inspired by the American Grindhouse, sort of like New York scene. I mean, I think both were probably going to weird old fucking sleazy movies at the same time and probably some of the same places. And they both have this way of, again, talking about Malcolm McDowell's performance in this, getting sort of like actors who Hollywood is sort of thrown away and getting some of their better performances out of them more recently. So, and the dialogue, like, basically, like, Rob Zombie's dialogue is almost like if Quentin Tarantino's characters were from the American South. That's an over-exaggeration. They're not as, like, I don't know how to put it, like, their dialogue, the dialogue in Rob Zombie's seems a little more like you could hear real people saying it. It is obviously very exaggerated and over the top, but it does feel a little more natural, maybe a little less pop culture infused. I mean, though, certainly there's plenty of pop culture references in these movies. Other points, I don't know. It's just fun. Like I said, it's very bleak and dark, but it's very entertaining all the way through. And again, depending on how you react to Rob Zombie's sensibilities, if you're a legitimate hater of Rob Zombie and you don't like his like weird fucking white trash Shakespeare screenplays, you're not gonna like it. It's gonna be grating. All of his stuff will be grating. I don't know why people keep like if you're like a horror fan, they keep going to see Rob Zombie's movies and then shitting on the things that he does in every one of them. Like you should expect that by now. Like just stop going to it. Stop, stop posting memes about how he cast Sherry Moon Zombie in every movie he makes. Of course he's gonna. He's always gonna. Unless they get divorced or something, it's bad. Rob Zombie's Halloweens. I'm mostly talked about the first one because I rewatched that one more recently, although the second one I do think is really well done as well. And it, again, talking about her, Laurie Strode's PTSD in the second one, I think part of what annoyed me about the movie the first time I watched it was that, and she's sort of like this sort of really angry kid. She's covered in she's done her hair all weird, and she's like all messed up now, and she just sort of says fuck so much more, and that sort of, again, it's one of those things. Annoyed me the first time I watched it. It felt like almost badly improvised dialogue, but since watching so many more movies with really badly improvised dialogue, that's people just filling in fucks for thinking of clever dialogue, it's clear that there is a very particular poetry and cadence to how Rob Zombie puts his fucks in his bits of dialogue. He thinks about it a lot. So rewatching it after that, it felt very sort of real. I've seen people who've gone through really bad shit just devolve into a series of fucks while having a nervous breakdown. Well, not a nervous breakdown, but a panic attack, that sort of thing. So it feels more sort of real, again, even though reality, that's not a note of quality for me, how well something depicts a real act. It definitely, and again, it's weird to say these movies are realistic because they're so clearly over the top and nutty and they're insane. I mean, the second one just flat out establishes Mike Myers as being supernatural, which is something the fucking the real, the sort of regular Halloween series is, they keep flirting back and forth with it. They can't, they're maybe he's just a guy, maybe he isn't. Then they decide he isn't, and then a couple movies later they reboot it and pretend the other sequels didn't happen. So, it's a mess. The Halloween sequels are a mess. But, I like these. So if you, damn it, this is getting so long. I'm almost at 30 minutes here. I was gonna do this way quicker. All right, check out the Rob Zombie movies if you haven't, which you probably have at this point. Most people have, and I've spoiled a bunch of shit, so whatever. If you hated them, maybe give them a second chance. Maybe, or don't. It's up to you. I will probably either post another video like this at some point or not. That's completely up in the air right now. And have a good night, everybody. Bye.